So that's a vermilion bird, you see.
Hello everyone, I'm Zoreen T and I'm joined today by Dan Hines.
Hey, how are you?
Hi Dan, I'm good, thank you. So I recently got 2 hours hands-on with Final Fantasy Type-0 HD, which we're going to talk about today.
Now, where does this fit in the Final Fantasy series? What kind of a spin-off is this?
So it's part of the Final Fantasy 13 kind of universe in that it's all crystal themed, but that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, so we're not playing as Lightning or anything?
No, not like the story is completely separate. So this Final Fantasy game, we're going to talk about the combat mechanics specifically today, because they're very different. So when I think about Final Fantasy games, usually I think of turn-based or active time of battle type deals. But this time around, you're actually playing as a single character who's you're very mobile. You're running around a lot, and you lock onto enemies to attack them.
Yeah, this looks more like an action game than a Final Fantasy game.
Yes, that is. I guess I could. That's fair. To be honest, it is. It does strike me very much as an actiony type game rather than a Final Fantasy game.
You're still having damage numbers pop up though, so are we using strategy here? Like you got to think about all your strikes before you do them?
I gotta say, in the time that I had with the game, not really. I mean, you have each character that you play has unique moves that are mapped to each button press or face button on the controller. So, these attacks vary in their properties slightly, but overall I felt like there wasn't a lot of strategic depth required.
This looks more like Bayonetta. I mean, like you're dodging and rolling around the place.
Yeah, I mean, like movement plays such a huge part of this, and part of it's because your character is very squishy. As you can see on the video here now, like you're already down to half health after taking a few hits. So, dodging and moving around and jumping at the right time is really important. Although I say jumping, I use that term quite liberally. You can't actually jump in this game, but rolling around and dodging is quite important in this game, and positioning as well. And because it moves quite fast, you might see now actually that the camera angles get a bit awkward sometimes. So you control your character with the left analog stick, but with the right analog stick you control the camera to move around.
So this was originally released on the PSP in Japan, which only had one analog stick. So do you think this is going to be a better way to play it, even though the camera is still a little bit awkward?
Well, Tabata, the director himself, has said that he's aware of the problems that the camera poses and that they're working on it to fix it and make it better before the full release comes out on console. So, overall, I'd like it to be something that players don't have to worry about. Camera issues really should be the last thing on your mind when you're playing a game like this and enjoying it for what it is. But like on PSP it was probably a totally different experience. And speaking of which, this whole port to console, it's the first time it's coming to the West. But I feel like the screen could have, they could have used more space, more better. I mean, like, it's not a mini console anymore. You're on this huge full-size television screen most of the time, and the HUD has, it has room to do more stuff with.
Yeah, I mean, like, as far as HD re-releases of PSP games go, we've seen stuff like Peace Walker, which is pretty good, but I mean, how does this compare? Does this feel HD, or are you still pretty aware that this was originally on PSP?
I'd have to say I'm still pretty aware, because when I was playing it, some cutscenes, it was very obvious, characters weren't really rendered as well as they could have been, even though it's a HD remix. Although that being said, we are very early on in release, and maybe by the time the game comes out next year, everything would look much better and more polished.
So it looks like your characters are all in school uniform. Like, what's going on? Are we a bunch of renegade students here?
Well, not renegade so much. You're part of a school, an academy, as you can see here, that teaches magic to students, and the red capes that your characters don indicate that they're part of a special class, Class 0, who are able to use magic even when the enemy has deployed these interference beams or like machines to stop the war, like to stop the nation that they're warring against from using magic. And because of that, your class is special, and you guys are the only ones who possess the means to combat the enemy, because you can use magic wherever, and that's why it's Type-0.
Wow, alright, so when's it coming out?
Comes out next year in March. For more on Final Fantasy Type-0 HD, stay tuned to GameSpot.com.